everyone, and welcome to Noona's Noonchi, where I do a deep dive into some of our favorite K-dramas from a mental health perspective. Let's talk more about Squid Game, original game, shall we? I want to talk about addiction first. Addiction and how society that we see according to Squid Game has written those folks off. Specifically Gi-hoon, who we see struggling with gambling addiction. Spending his mom's money, being what we'd say a loser dad to his daughter, couldn't give her anything, has nothing, doesn't have a job, can't hold a job because of his gambling addiction. But yet there's no help for him, right? Hey, you're a loser of society. You need to go into the Squid Game. And then we have Sang-woo, who is seen the exact opposite, his childhood friend, where he is seen as, wow, the epitome of success, went to Seoul National University, his mom brags about him, people are like, yeah, look at him, he's making millions. He is in the US, which he obviously lied to his mom about, but went into financial ruin because of poor choices that he made, probably investing in things to get more money or embezzling to get more money for that success, right? That's not necessarily addiction, but still feeling the need to show face, save face. And then he makes a deadly choice, Sang-woo, by entering the Squid Game and not being able to face his mother. When it comes to addiction, understand this. It is a disease, an illness. That is how we see it in the clinical medical circle, which means it is treatable. It is difficult, and those with addiction, compulsive behaviors come out. You're lying or stealing money because of gambling or drugs and wasting away. Sure, making those poor decisions that hurt your family, your community, people cannot trust you. That's all understandable, but it is treatable. And when you see in the Squid Game, no one offers that help. I think that's actually very systemic, kind of showing what Korean society or Asian culture is like, almost canceling you out. I don't want to bring up the cancel culture, but canceling you out going, yeah, you're a loser. You're just gambling. Here's some money for you, but that's it. But also on the flip side, because of that stigma, then those folks struggling with addiction or in financial ruin because of a mistake, because we're human beings, we make mistakes, or because of an eagerness to please, because that's part of our culture, the parent expectation that you feel to survive and show off everything, and then you make these poor choices to cover up things, and then basically snowballs, Sang-woo, and then not being able to face your mom because of that stigma that you're a failure in society. Why can we change that? And understand that folks can make mistakes. I'm bringing this up because a big part of the culture, which is why we see in Squid Game those losers of society that were chosen to go into Squid Game because of financial ruin or severe debt, where they needed money because they were super poor and seen that way. And that tells me a systemic issue at hand. Now, I can't go to Korea or also change things, but that's part of my job, is to talk about mental health and mental illness and normalize these conversations to get folks help when they need it, like something like addiction. Addiction, people think of substance use addiction, but gambling is very real. There's also sex addiction, porn addiction, internet gaming, caffeine use. There's more research needed on that, but that's all there. Behaviors that come up that people don't even recognize you and even want to have nothing to do with you, and then basically write you off. We see that a lot in Asian culture. Yeah, he's hopeless. He's just addicted. Can't do anything. And then the folks struggling with it feel that, and then therefore feel shamed or ashamed, guilty for what they've done, and then cannot ask for help. These are risk factors, folks, in our culture. So I need you to understand, for our mental health and to treat mental illness, what can we do to build up those protective factors? Well, ask for help. That's pretty much the main thing I want to say today. A lot of these folks in Squid Game could have asked for help. Yes, it's difficult, especially when we're talking Asian culture. We're asking for help, just makes you look a certain way because it's so much about showing face, saving face, being successful. And then when you are not, you can't ask for help. But that is a protective factor. Asking for help, first of all, builds courage. And then guess what? You could change the trajectory of your life. Now, Squid Game is unrealistic in the sense of it's a game, right, on a remote island, and deadly game. But in real life, we have those deadly choices that folks make because they cannot ask for help or feel like they can't ask for help. And specifically in our Asian culture, that is very real. Perhaps even in your own family, asking for help, like seeking a therapist, you're jeered at, looked down upon. I'm going into all this because this all relates to the very core of Squid Game and why these participants entered that deadly scenario. How can we build one another up to ask for help? Do you know that building that courage and communication to ask for help is critical? That can save you or break you. So that's my message for today. I could talk more about addiction, but again, I don't really work with addiction so much. I have treated those in recovery for sure, but understand that addiction is treatable. It's a disease, it's an illness. Think of a disease, right? It kind of like infiltrates and it looks disgusting, right? Disease, well, that's how addiction works. So when you say disgusting behavior, compulsive behavior, impulsive behavior, things that people just jeer at and can't stand, they sneer at you. But I don't want folks to be written off. I mean, that's the whole point of why we treat and have these recovery centers and talk about this, have these conversations that very much exist in everyday life. Squid Game, though the scenario is not exactly real, it portrays realistically how life looks at those who are struggling in society, right? And those who feel like, hey, you're not good enough because you've done this, so forget you. And I'm bringing up something I think that needs to be pointed out because it's still there. But all those folks can be helped. We have psychological resources. We have addiction centers. We have resources that you can read upon. The internet has a whole use of plethora of information. So Gi-hoon could have been helped with his gambling addiction instead of being fed by his mom of more money, right? And then the fact that Sung-woo, couldn't face his mom, made a deadly choice because the society has built him up. You know, that person, oh, you went to Seoul National, so you should do no wrong, when you can make mistakes, and then you make more mistakes and more mistakes because you want to save face or show face. Big part of our culture that needs to be unlearned. Break those patterns in your family starting today, so then we don't have the Squid Game play out in real life, which I really believe it could. That is why it's being so watched. It's entertaining, but there's something also realistic about it, right? Fantastical and realistic. Well, folks, that's my message for today. To understand those desperate times, call for desperate measures, ask for help. It is a protective factor. A risk factor is suppressing all of that to show face, save face, because that's what society tells you. And even though that's real, I want you to understand that you just can ask that one question of a trusted source, safe space, find that person, and then that could change the trajectory of your life. Thanks for watching Noona's Noonchi. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button to get notified of new episodes to come.